Welcome to another episode of the Bamatuer Hour. Thank you for tuning in. We now have almost 300 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and we have thousands of listeners who've listened to podcasts. We thank you. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Amazon Music, iHeart Podcast, Spotify, Podcast Index, and RSS Podcasts. Subscribe, like, and follow us on any of the platforms where you can access us. If you subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, also click the bell so that you can get the updates and the notifications. This is the Bamatuer Hour. Welcome to another episode. We're the Bamatuers, and we are amateurs who talk about Alabama football, basketball, and other sports-related topics. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025, in the year of our Lord, and we are blessed to be here and happy to talk with you. I'm Bama John. Today I'm joined by Will K and producer Scott. Will K, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well.
And producer Scott, how are you today?
Doing fine.
Excellent. All right, guys, let's jump into it. Episode 20. The Bamatuers are going to dig into the defense. We're going to talk about the outlook for the defense in season 2 under Kane Wommack with the Tide. We're going to go through the position groups. We're going to talk about the standouts. We're going to talk about the performers that we're excited about, and we're just going to give you the outlook. But I think before we jump into the 2025 outlook, we need to talk about 2024 and some of the struggles and the performance and the issues that need to be corrected, the strengths and the weaknesses of the defense, since there are a lot of players coming back. And I think you got to look at last year before you can project how we're going to do this year. So let's jump into it. I'm going to just highlight some issues that I saw from last year, and these are items of concern. One of them was the discipline of the players doing their job, not freelancing, but doing what their assignment was and not trying to do too much, not getting lost, but being in tune with what they were supposed to do. Number 2 was penalties. There were too many penalties that gave up first downs in key situations. That was really tough to watch how many penalties. I thought the defense was undisciplined at times. They were out of control. There were a lot of concerning 15-yard penalties in particular. Another issue I saw was losing containment in both the running game and in rushing the passer. Guys have to do their job. I thought some of our pass rushers took bad angles to the quarterback, trying to get to the quarterback, and those elusive, athletic, dual threat quarterbacks will burn you and get outside containment if you don't have the right technique and if you're not under control. We'll talk about that more. I thought there were blown coverages that hurt us at times in key situations. We got away with it sometimes. But that was concerning that guys, again, weren't focused on what their job was in coverage and got lost in coverage. The Vanderbilt game, we really got burned on that. And then overall, in the losses, we gave up too many yards with the rush defense. I thought the teams in those losses were able to run the ball effectively, and they were also able to convert on 3rd and 4th down in key situations because our rushing defense was not as strong as I would have liked. And the other thing that I thought was disconcerting was just a lack of a solid, consistent pass rush and getting sacks. We put pressure on the quarterback, but I don't think we were a sacking defense that just got a lot of sacks on the quarterback. And it really hurt us at times. So even though I thought the defense improved, and I thought at the end of the year, those losses that we took at the end of the year were not on the defense as much as it was on the offense. Those are the things from 2024, just some items of concern that I want to see how in year 2 under Kane Wommack, how we're able to improve in those areas and just take those issues and minimize them as much as possible. Okay, Will K., you have any comments on 2024 specific items that you saw from the 2024 year that you want to jump into? Floor is yours.
Well, the Vanderbilt game we gave up 40, but at times our defense looked great. First half against Georgia, fantastic. Um, LSU was really good. I think we matched up well against them. Tennessee, they only scored 24 points. That's not a ton. I know Nico missed a bunch of throws in that game, but even the Oklahoma game, I know we lost, but that was due to pick six and then another interception where they were already in the red zone and they only scored 24 points. Um, we get a lot of guys back. I'm excited that Deontay Lawson's coming back. That was something that I didn't expect. But yeah, I don't think what you said. We didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, not a lot of sacks. Um, so hopefully we can improve in that way. But I'm optimistic. We get a lot of guys back, a lot of young guys, veterans. It's a good mix. So I'm excited.
Producer Scott, you have any comments in general from the 2024 season and thoughts on issues and items of concern as we look to and project 2025?
Well, as usual, I don't have the history of watching the games like you all had. So I look at numbers, and the numbers are quite favorable. So when you look at the first six games, yeah, the defense was shoddy. By the end of those six games, you're number 55 in the country in total defense. By the end of the year, you're number 21 in total defense. And when we look at the last seven games, there was only one bad statistical marker when I look at passing yards against Alabama, rushing yards, and yards per play, and I compare them against the season averages for all of those teams they played. The only bad spot was against Oklahoma, allowing 257 rushing yards when Oklahoma only averaged 155. Well, you say that's horrible. They only got 68 passing yards against Alabama when they were averaging 176. The rest of it, from Tennessee down to Michigan, Alabama's defense was just better. They every statistical, well, at least in these three, passing yards, rushing yards, and yards per play, that Alabama had every team except for that one figure below their average. So I'm liking that trend. I don't know how you guys feel.
I actually do. I think the defense got better as we moved along. I thought the Vanderbilt loss, you could hang that a lot more on the defense than the offense. There were some mistakes made on the offensive end, but the defense, and let me just give you some figures from that Vanderbilt game that really stood out to me. Number one, Vanderbilt had 26 first downs, Alabama had 17. So they killed us. I mean, they were just able to sustain drives, eat the clock. Defense couldn't get off the field. Third down efficiency for Vanderbilt. They converted 12 of 18 third downs, and they were 1 for 1 on fourth down. Terrible. I mean, that's bad. And Alabama had 4 penalties that gave Vanderbilt first down. So out of those 26 first downs, 4 of them were on penalties by Alabama. So again, undisciplined, you can't do that. So in that game, it was really bad. And then Vanderbilt had 418 yards to Alabama's 396. And Vanderbilt rushed for 166 yards, and Alabama only got 84 yards rushing. So again, they figured out the formula. Make Milroe beat you by passing and limit his rushing. And Vanderbilt was able to eke out that game and get the win. So, that game was really, really bad from a defensive standpoint in terms of discipline, in terms of not getting off the field on third down and fourth down. Really exposed us. In the Tennessee game, couple of things here. In terms of third down efficiency, Alabama only converted on 3 of 14 third downs, whereas Tennessee converted on 6 of 14. So that Alabama defense played well enough that if the offense could have been effective, they could have won the game. But it wasn't the lockdown Alabama defense that could squeak out a 17-14 or 14-10 win. And then in terms of rushing yards against Tennessee, Tennessee rushed for 214 yards. Alabama only rushed for 75 yards. We could not stop the run in that game, and they really killed us by eating us up on the ground. And then in terms of penalties, Alabama had 15 penalties to the Tennessee's 11 penalties. And again, it was just a performance that there's room for improvement. And the rush defense is something that needs to improve this year. And then when you look at the Oklahoma game, that's really where they killed us. Is Oklahoma ran for 257 yards rushing. Alabama only had 70. Milroe had a terrible game with the 3 interceptions, but Oklahoma was able to eat clock and take advantage of field position and run the clock and just run it down our throats. And I don't know how much of it was once we got down, the defense quit because they quit on Milroe and didn't believe in Milroe. But again, it was a bad performance. And actually, in the Michigan game, even though we gave up 115 yards of rushing to Michigan versus Alabama only got 68 yards. So again, the rushing defense wasn't as strong as we would have liked. I thought the defense played well enough to win. Just Milroe was terrible. He had an interception, 2 fumbles. They got all these red zone turnovers, and Alabama only got 1 turnover. So it was really tough in that game. And the one other game I wanted to mention was South Carolina. Um, Actually, South Carolina got more first downs than Alabama did. Even though we won that game, we almost lost it. They had more first downs, 23 to Alabama's 20. So the defense struggled there. They got 3 first downs on penalties. They were better on third down than Alabama was. So South Carolina was able to convert more on third down, and they outrushed us in that game. The thing that saved Alabama against South Carolina was we did have 3 takeaways and we got 3 fumbles from South Carolina. So at least we got some takeaways in that game. But those things are the things that really concern me, was those issues on lack of turnovers. So if I look at the common issues from 2024, it's too many penalties that resulted in first downs. The rushing defense was not good in the big games where we really needed them to control the line of scrimmage and not let teams punch it down our throat. I thought that we lost the turnover battle too often, so we weren't forcing enough turnovers. And on fourth down, we were allowing too many fourth down conversions, and then just penalties in general. The defense was not disciplined enough, and they were committing too many penalties. So those are all the items that I want to see how we address that this year. And I think some of it's just coaching them up, getting guys better, but we did a better job at the end of the year. I was happy with the way we played against Michigan. I thought against Oklahoma, had Milroe not had such a bad game, maybe we could have eked out a 17-14 or a 14-10 win. But Milroe put us in such bad positions, and the defense just wasn't up to the task of when they were asked over and over again to stop Oklahoma on a short field, they couldn't do it. So those were just items that I noted. All right, Will K, jump in here.
Yeah, definitely not the defense that Nick Saban had. I mean, and even in the Georgia game, in the second half, we were up 28-0. I know we had a lot of interceptions and interception to win the game, but I mean, there were, that fourth quarter was kind of ugly. Giving up big plays, letting them get back into it. Um, you know, and I think, but then you look at a game like Missouri. I'm not sure how good Missouri was last year. Um, But you shut them out. They were a top 10 team at one point in the year. And then LSU did nothing. I think we matched up well against them. Um, and then Wisconsin, pretty good defense. It's just the volatility, being good one week, not being good the next week. Um, we don't match up well against, that option that whatever Vanderbilt ran. It wasn't a triple option, but it was some kind of like um, RPO.
Yeah, it's an RPO triple option. It really is a triple option RPO, and you're right. They ate
Yeah.
us alive. That was tough.
And, Oklahoma kind of did that to us too, but with running the ball, they didn't really pass it a lot, and we kind of killed ourselves in that game. I mean, I wouldn't really give Oklahoma credit, or their offense at least. Their defense played fantastic. But, and the defense played well against Michigan. Just another stinker from Jalen Milroe. I mean, there's only so much a defense can do. Um, but I like the group that we're getting back. LT Overton, Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson. The secondary might be the best in the country next year. Bray Hubbard, my favorite player, is an absolute animal. He's going to be great. If he keeps it up, he's going to be a first round draft pick. I mean, everywhere I saw him last year, he was just around the ball. He was hitting the crap out of somebody, or he was intercepting the ball. He was just making plays wherever he could. Um, and then Zabian Brown, Damani Jackson. We got a slew of different defensive backs who are going to be great. Um, Justin Jefferson, the linebacker, not the wide receiver for the Vikings. Um, and then we got that transfer from Colorado. So I like the group we have. It's a mixture of new guys, some talented freshmen, and some veterans. So
All right, let's jump into it since you started throwing out some names. You guys, Scott, you got anything else you want to add before we jump into the position groups?
Yeah, just going to come back to the stat lines. The only stinker across the lines in those categories, passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed, yards per play, was Vanderbilt. They performed better against Alabama in all three categories than they did on average for the season.
I will
But
say that game was just kind of perfect. Alabama just they were a little hungover from that Georgia win, and Vanderbilt kind of played as close to a perfect game as you could. I mean, Vanderbilt played well in that game. It's not like Alabama gave it up. They should have won, obviously. They shouldn't have lost Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt did everything they could to win that game, and it was just kind of perfect. They just played. I mean, that might be the greatest football game I've ever seen Vanderbilt play.
Yeah,
yeah,
no turnovers, high third down conversion rate, high fourth down conversion rate.
Time of
Vanderbilt
possession.
just played a perfect game, and our guys were out of sorts on defense. They didn't know, they were undisciplined, they got penalties, they didn't play assignment football enough. There was too many blown assignments, blown coverage, lack of containment, and they were confused with the triple option. And the triple option is really, it's kind of where's the football? It's that idea of you're going to hide it, you're going to give them a lot of eye candy and confuse guys. And we bit and bit and bit and were confused. And the whole game didn't really know what to do to stop them. So, yeah, that was the worst defensive game. And really, the other games, I felt like it was our rush defense that struggled more against Michigan, against Oklahoma, and against Tennessee. I thought our pass defense held up pretty well, except for giving up one touchdown over the top. And it was a great catch. It was a great throw and catch by Tennessee to take the lead, but it was really our inability to shut down running games that killed us in those other three games. So those were the points I wanted to make. Will K, any other thoughts?
Nope, don't think so.
All
yeah,
right, producer Scott, jump
yeah.
in.
Actually, I do, and of course, the discipline and maybe just timely defensive plays. What I'm looking at here certainly doesn't talk to that, and I agree with the points you've made. But again, if they can work on that after the Vandy game, they gave up too many passing yards to South Carolina, but still held them below their average in rushes. Missouri, they held them considerably below passing yards and yards per play, and only gave up 2.5 yards more than their rushing average against the whole season. And then it was that Oklahoma rushing the 257 yards. That's just the eyesore. But they were scratch other than that. I mean, Tennessee, they held them below their averages. LSU below their averages across the board. Obviously Mercer, Auburn, and Michigan. So I wonder if the offense played better and they played with more discipline, a lot of these problems would have fixed themselves.
Well, I'm hoping because we got a lot of guys coming back on defense. Will just went through a litany of guys, so we have a lot of starters returning. We've got a really strong group at pretty much all the position groups, and we're going to go through that in a minute. But it's going to help to have the guys a year older, a year of having their feet in the fire. We're going to be a lot more experienced team this year, and they're going to know what the coordinator expects, and Kane Wommack's going to know what these guys' issues are, and he's got a chance to really work on the mistakes they made last year and coach them up and just get them better. So these guys with more experience with the spring practice and coming into the fall, if we don't get better, then there's something wrong, because we got a bunch of 5-star and 4-star guys who are a year older. So I really think there's a great opportunity to make a big leap forward and be a lot better and be the best version of what the defense was in 2024, not the version that stunk it up at Vanderbilt. And I'm encouraged about that. And then you guys brought up the Missouri game and the LSU game. In the Missouri game, we got multiple turnovers. I think we got 3 interceptions in that game. And I know in the LSU game, we got 3 interceptions in that game. So they were forcing turnovers and got turnovers in those 2 games. And that really helped limit LSU and shut out Missouri, which Missouri was a decent team. And the way we were able to handle both of those teams with the defense. So all credit there. So, all right, let's jump into the position groups. So let's start first with the defensive line, and that's the area where I'm the most concerned. Is it D tackle and nose tackle? We've got Tim Keenan coming back. He's a load. James Smith coming back. He's a load. Keenan's a senior. James Smith's a junior. Those guys are big. I think they're going to play on Sundays. I'm just really worried about the depth in our interior defensive line and our ability to just bludgeon the middle of the line and collapse the pocket on pass rushes and on running downs, just to hold the line and not let the opposing offensive line get a good push, so that their rushers start off 2 yards forward before even making contact. So I'm really worried about the defensive interior line. Will K, your thoughts on our defensive interior players, knowing that Keenan and Smith are strong, but I don't know that we have anybody else that's proven in that interior line?
I think it'll be fine. I guess if there was one position, that would be the one that's like not the most solid. But even with the outside lineman, LT, I think it'll be fine. They all played last year. Tim Keenan was on that team that almost beat Michigan. They, I think that they'll be fine. Nothing like 2016 with Jonathan Allen or anything, but they'll be a B plus defensive line, I think.
Producer Scott, any thoughts on the interior line of Alabama and what the outlook is for the fall?
Well, I'm not going to have many because as I've said ad nauseum, I didn't consistently watch last year, but just when I look at this list of projected defensive starters, I see junior, senior, senior, redshirt, senior, senior, junior, junior, redshirt, junior. And then I see 3 sophomores, and a couple of those I watched highlights of, and they are electric. So, yeah, staying healthy, obviously, I can't speak to the depth, but given those statistical trends I talked about earlier, I mean, really after that Vandy game, they started turning it around defensively in throughout the rest of the season consistently at South Carolina or against South Carolina. So you got upperclassmen. You look like you got some studs in the 3 younger guys that are starting. Yeah, stay healthy. I like the odds.
To me, that's what I'm really going to watch is when we go to Florida State, and then whenever we have our first early SEC test, is how good are we at stopping the run and getting off the field on third down and third and short situations, and also not letting them on first down get 4 to 6 yards and get into a second medium to second and short. So I'm the interior line, as I've said multiple times now, is the area I'm most concerned about. I don't have a whole lot of concern about the rest of the defense. I think this defense is going to be that Alabama level defense that we expect. I think they're going to be really good, assuming that the guys get better, do their job, don't try to do more than their job, play assignment, aggressive defensive football. I think we're going to be really good. Will K, any other thoughts?
Yeah, this defense is going to be pretty good, I think. Getting Deontay Lawson back is going to be huge. But yeah.
All right, let's talk about the edge positions. We're loaded at the edge positions, which is LT Overton, and they call it the bandit position he plays, but it's a glorified defensive end position. And then they've got a Wolf linebacker that's a hybrid between a D end and just an outside linebacker who's coming in. And you got Quay Russaw there, and then you got some strong guys sitting behind both of those guys. Those guys are studs. And I think that LT Overton, I think Quay Russaw, and I will say, I think Tim Keenan and James Smith, too. I think all of those guys are going to play on Sundays. A lot of them have a chance to be first round draft picks. LT is a heck of an athlete, as Will knows. Will got to play against him in football in high school, and that guy is a stud. The biggest knock I have on LT is he was undisciplined at times and he would blow containment thinking, and he's very athletic. He's very strong. He's a great football player. He's going to play in the NFL, but sometimes he would take a bad angle to the quarterback and blow containment. And because he's so athletic, he wouldn't realize that some of these super hyper athletic quarterbacks could beat him to the edge and convert a first down. And in South Carolina, Lenora Sellers did that to him multiple times, and I watched it. I watched LT take a bad angle. He didn't contain him, and he got outside, and South Carolina was able to do that. And that happened in a couple other games. But that's the thing I want to see is LT more disciplined and under control because he can make the plays. He is a heck of an athlete, and Quay Russaw as well. So those guys, it's going to be exciting, and hopefully they're going to get a lot more sacks this year with another year under their belt. Producer Scott, thoughts?
Well, that all sounds good. I can say the film I watched on Overton, James Smith, Tim Keenan, Deontay Lawson, they all looked amazing. And I hope I don't mispronounce it. Qua Russaw, did I say that right?
I think it's Quay, but Quay
Quay.
Russaw. Yeah, Quay.
My
Quay
apologies,
Russaw.
Quay. Don't hurt me. Um, that guy's a beast. I mean, and I even saw a video of an expert talking, and he complained, through the South Carolina game. Obviously, there was a lot to complain about, but he bemoaned the use of the Wolf linebacker, a claim that the defensive coordinator wasn't using them properly. Do you guys agree with that? And did you see notable improvement as the stats showed the defense got better after that game?
Will K address that?
Um, what do you mean by that? I guess I don't understand the question.
I think they're saying the Wolf linebacker wasn't used properly, either in
Yes,
run defense or in the pass defense. That maybe,
particularly run. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah,
yeah.
they were saying that when those first 6 games they were getting gashed, and it's like, let's kind of fix how we're using it. I don't know if they deviated from the 4-2-5 defense. You guys watched more of it. I'm just very intrigued why starting with South Carolina things got better defensively.
Oh, I'm not sure. Um, I think Womack likes to call a lot of blitzes, like heavy blitzes. Maybe it had something to do with that, but I'm not sure as to how the linebackers were utilized.
Do you
I,
think they? Oh, go ahead, John.
I think to that point is in that 4-2-5 defense, you've only got 6 guys in the box, and you could just shred that. So you've got to bring a strong safety down. You got to get 7 guys or 8 guys in the box, or just the numbers work in favor of the running game unless they're in a spread offense. And I think part of the reason for using the 4-2-5 is so many offenses go 3 wide and sometimes even 4 wide. So you got to have cover guys out there, but your cover guys also have to be able to come up and play in the box and be a kind of hybrid strong safety or a linebacker and go in that dual role. So, I mean, it takes a special athlete to do that. So I think part of that criticism that you were bringing up was the inability to stop the run because they didn't have enough guys in the box and didn't have enough beef in the box. So that was my thought on it.
Yeah, and it maybe overall the linebackers had to have improved. I mean, another complaint that came out of that video was linebackers getting roasted in coverage. Well, Georgia, Vandy, and South Carolina all had above their averages in passing yards. But then after that, from Tennessee through Michigan, Alabama held the teams below their averages in passing. So I wonder if there was just overall improvement with the linebackers. I just didn't watch enough of the games, but it seems like it was trending in the right direction.
Yeah, there are a couple of blown coverages in the Georgia game that we gave up some touchdowns over the top. I remember at the end of the half, South Carolina had a really good running back. They ran a guy deep, and then he cut on the post, and the corner bit, and it allowed the running back on a wheel route as the wide receiver cut to the middle. It left the right third of the end zone open with nobody there, and they hit that running back on a wheel route, and he was wide open, touchdown. Nobody saw him, nobody covered him. It was, and there might have been a little bit of a pick play, but that was one of those where it was really just a blown pass coverage. So I think our guys were trying to figure out how to play pass coverage, but then against LSU they had 3 picks. Against Missouri they had 3 picks, so they figured it out. Michigan didn't really have a quarterback that could threaten us as a throwing quarterback, and Oklahoma didn't need to because we put them in such good positions that they just milked the clock, run the ball, and didn't have to throw it much, so they weren't challenged. But yeah, I think learning the defense, the intricacies, and there were definitely some blown coverages. And against Vanderbilt definitely got our guys to bite, and he was able to find Diego Pavia was able to find open receivers consistently on 3rd down and keep the chains moving. And then some penalties, some pass interference, roughing the passer. There were some other things that killed us too, as we gave up 4 first downs on penalties. So I think being disciplined, these guys have got to be under control and not be hotheads. and do stupid things. I mean, it's one thing if you commit a pass interference because you've been beaten, and it's better to give up the pass interference than to give up a touchdown over the top. But I think those are concerns to think about. Will K, any thoughts?
No, I think you hammered it pretty well there.
All right, let's move into the. So we got Quay Rousseau, and we've got and we've got LT Overton, and then when you get into the linebacker positions, the Mike position, middle linebacker, and the Sting, Deontay Lawson, who you're thrilled is coming back, and then Justin Jefferson, and then behind Justin Jefferson, who I think is also going to get a lot of playing time, it's Nikai Hill Green, who came in from Colorado. There's just a lot of talent in this linebacking core, and I think we're set up to really have a strong linebacking core that can just get all over the field. I think these guys can cover, they can blitz, uh, they're good tackling linebackers, and they're NFL caliber linebackers that are going to get drafted and play on Sunday. So I think we're in good stead in the linebacking group. I'm not concerned about our ability for these guys to play and be effective as long as they're disciplined and they're not blowing their assignments and just reading the defense, plugging the holes, doing assignment aggressive football. I think we'll be in good shape. Will K, thoughts on the linebacking group?
Yeah, Deontay Lawson um, might be the best linebacker in the country next year. I mean, he was really good for us last year. A lot of people thought he was going to go to the NFL. Justin Jefferson, he'll be a good compliment. And then that linebacker from Colorado who led the team in tackles will be good too. So, I mean, it's not going to be, 2011 or 2012 where we had CJ Mosley and Dante Hightower and, just a bunch of studs everywhere. But, I think Deontay Lawson will be the quarterback of the defense. And I think that he'll put us in a good position. And I'll trust that, he can make a third down stop when we need it.
Producer Scott, thoughts?
From what I'm hearing, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, the linebacking core is going to be stronger this year. Is that correct, collectively?
Will K,
Yeah.
do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just following the line with these stats that I seem to love. And, the complaint was the linebackers are getting cooked and they're not making tackles. With the last year's core, it seemed like that inherently was improving over the last 7 games. So, with a better staff of linebackers now, why wouldn't we be completely confident?
I am confident. I think this defense can be loaded, and I'm expecting a big jump in production and for it to be one of the 10 best defenses in the country. I really think there's 4-star, 5-star guys everywhere. There's NFL caliber talent, not just in the starting group, but in the backups. So there's a bunch of great guys here that I think can really have an impact. And I expect this defense to be tremendous. And again, it's just that interior defensive line and our ability to stop the running game that has me the most concerned. The penalties are my second biggest concern about guys just being disciplined. Don't make the stupid penalty. Just be under control, be aggressive, but don't lose your temper. Don't be out of control. And then again, just do your assignment. Don't try to just be a freewheeling, I'm going to make a play because I'm all that. If you do your job and all 11 guys do their job on every play, we're going to shut people down and we're going to be hard to beat. And we're going to win those games against Michigan and Oklahoma when the offense isn't having its best outing. We're going to be able to rely on the defense to shut them down, to get some takeaways, and to just bury teams. So that's my thought on it. Will K, expand.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really see a weakness on this defense. I mean, I don't remember the last time I went into a year thinking that we'd have a bad defense. Um, but I'm a Bray Hubbard guy. Gotta love Bray Hubbard. Um,
Hey, and Will K, on this point, let's jump into the secondary. Let's jump into the safeties, the Husky, the corners. Let's go ahead and jump in there. So go ahead.
yeah,
Talk about Bray Hubbard. Talk about Damani Jackson. Talk about Keon Sabb. Talk about Xavier Brown. Talk about Deshaun Jones, Draker Patrick. Um, go ahead, jump in there and let's chew it up
yeah. I've
because this secondary is loaded too.
Yeah, Mbakwe. I mean, and he's just a receiver now, right?
Yes, my understanding is he does not want to play on defense and he wants to be a receiver. So I don't think we're going to see him come over as a nickel, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and we got Cameron Calhoun coming from Utah, who's supposed to be awesome. Um, I mean, just so many guys. Xavier Brown was freshman last year, and he was great.
He came up big
Made the,
against Georgia.
yep, yep. So we're just, and I've heard good things about other people, like Draker
Dijon Lee.
Patrick.
I mean, a lot of people think
Yeah.
Dijon Lee's going to play a lot, and that he's like, what is he, 6'4", rangy, long, fast
Oh
corner.
yeah, he's like 6'4", isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, just an ideal long cover corner. So I'm telling you, we're loaded in the secondary.
Mm-hmm. And Keon Sabb's coming back from injury. So, you know, I mean, who are all these people that are going to get playing time? Like, I know I've said that against the,
We have an abundance of riches, Will. That's the nice
yes.
thing. We can take some injuries and plug and play. I mean, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. I mean, there's a load of talent. This is a super talented secondary. I don't want guys to get injured, but we can take some injuries because we have depth, we have talent. It's really fun to have these kind of expectations. I hope I'm not. Drinking the Kool-Aid too much, but I'm really excited about the potential for how good this defense can be, and that it can be one of those that gives the offense some margin for error, and we're not looking to play hero ball to pull out games, and that we can just do what Alabama does: have a great defense and let the other team beat themselves, come up with some big timely plays and make it happen. But defense is going to be strong. Producer Scott, jump in.
I agree. From what I know and what I'm hearing, abundance of riches is spot on. So let me kind of twist that around. I've heard you express concern about the D line, and when we can start with that, but maybe go through the various categories of defensive players. And is there one of those where there's going to be a drop off?
I think no, I really don't. I think um, the interior D line. I'm not sure we have any proven backups, and I'm concerned about that. But whoa, all right, Will, you okay? All right. So I'm not worried about in any of the starting positions that there's going to be a drop off. I expect all these guys to be a year older, a year better. So I think there's going to be tremendous pickup there, and it really is just a question of depth in the interior line and guys just playing discipline. So maybe I'm just being too optimistic and I got the rose colored glasses on, but I'm feeling good. Will K, are you there? Any thoughts?
Yeah, do you hear that siren outside? What is that?
I do not hear it.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, um, yeah, I think this will probably be our best defense since Will Anderson year, probably even better. Um, and that's what made those Nick Saban teams so good. Is that I mean, some years he didn't even have great offenses. He won national championships with Greg McElroy and Jake Coker, but we had great defenses that took the pressure off the offense. Um,
How about
I
two
think,
natties with AJ McCarron's team? I mean, those offenses were okay, but they weren't spectacular. But
yeah,
those
AJ McCarron
defenses were
too, but
awesome. Those defenses were awesome.
yeah, I think AJ McCarron's defenses were better actually, but I was just, I think Greg McElroy and Jake Coker are a little less were worse than AJ McCarron. That's why I was saying that. But um, and then in like 2016, Jalen Hurts' first year, I think there was a stat that we could have won 8 of those games without scoring an offensive touchdown or something like that because of how much the defense scored and how little they gave up. So, um, yeah, I think that's what I'm most excited about. And people aren't like talking about it. Some people have Alabama outside of their top 10. I was like, I think this team's going to be really good. You know, we don't have Texas on the schedule. Might have to see them in the SEC championship game. Um, but I'm feeling pretty good. Um, like I said, Bray Hubbard's second year. Bray Hubbard's the man. He was just all over the field. Yeah, I'm excited.
So, and to your point, I think the real question I have, and we're going to have to deal with this, and when we go through the schedule and preview the teams, how are we going to deal with that triple option RPO games? Because we got to play John Mateer, who came from Washington State. He's a dual threat quarterback at Oklahoma.
Hmm.
We got to play. Did you know Gus Malzahn's now the OC at Florida State?
Yep.
So he'll run that triple option RPO game, and Gus Malzahn has a history of beating Alabama. So that game's going to be a trap game, and it is at Florida State. We got to deal with Diego Pavia now. He's coming to Bryant Denny, so it's not going to exactly be the same as when we went up there, and we're going to really want to beat Vanderbilt down and get payback. And then we got to go to Auburn, and we got to play Jackson Arnold, who beat us at Oklahoma down there with Hugh Freeze. So we've got 4 games where we've got to deal with these RPO dual threat quarterbacks that are going to be tough to deal with. So we're going to find out how disciplined our defense can be, how under control and assignment oriented and not getting out of position. So all 4 of those games are really going to test our defense to the extreme just because of the type of offenses we're going to see in those games. So those will be really good tests, but I do like the talent. I like the fact that the guys are a year older, hopefully a lot more mature. But those games we're gonna know a lot after that Florida State game about how well we can handle that triple option RPO game, because Gus Malzahn's going to give us a mouthful of that, and it's going to be tough. That is going to be a tough game. I'm not predicting an easy win for Alabama in that game, but we'll talk about that more later. Producer Scott, thoughts?
I think you all took the thoughts right out of my brain. I'm optimistic this year. I mean, just based on these stats and probably having better quarterback play. Maybe the defense was rattled the first 6 games just because the offense wasn't doing what it should do. So I don't know. I'm very optimistic. I think we're going to be back to the traditional Alabama excellence this year.
I hope so.
All right, Will K. Any other thoughts on the defense, the outlook, the upcoming season? Wrap us up here.
Hello.
Will, can you hear us? I think we have lost Will again. I think we get to about minute 50, and Will seems to to lose the track. So, all right, producer Scott, Will K, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you to all the listeners. We appreciate. Keep tuning in. Subscribe, like, follow, hit the bell for notifications. This is the Bamateur Hour. We'll talk to you again soon. God bless and roll tide.